Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another brand new shell that we've never tested and it's brand new to the market, and there's quite a bit of hype around these shells, and I was lucky enough to be one of the first ones to actually get my hands on some of these shells, it would seem. So I'm definitely excited to see what they can actually give us. But as for those shells I brought in here today, I managed to get my hands on some of these, the new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells. These are the 12 gauge 3-inch 2 3/8 ounce payload of number 9 TSS shot, flying about 1100 feet per second. They do make these in 8s and 9s. I do have some of the 8s as well that we will be testing, so stay tuned for those. But to start out with, we've got some of the Longbeard TSS 9s, and I gotta say, these shells are not cheap whatsoever. Winchester kind of dropped the ball on that part. $70 a box for 5 rounds is pretty ridiculous. Even if they give us a really nice pattern, are they worth that much? I really don't know. I would like to see them, like, I don't know, $40, $45 a box-ish range. So maybe Winchester might be coming out with a lower payload TSS Longbeard shell that is in that $40 to $50 price range. But these ones are pretty expensive, so they better give us some good performance at that price. And here's what they look like out of the box. Just your very standard Longbeard XR style stuff here. Definitely nothing new or nothing fancy to see as far as the shell goes. And as for the setup we're going to try these out of for the first time, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose. It has a 24-inch Carlson's barrel on it, and for a choke, I decided to throw this one in here. For a starting point, I think it should work out pretty well. This is the Carlson's Longbeard XR 660 constriction choke. I figured we'll start here since we kind of already know this is a very good performing choke, and this choke was kind of designed for the Longbeard XR loads, so in thought process, it should work with the Longbeard TSS loads as well. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid starting point and a pretty common choke that a good number of people have. So we'll see what this combo can actually do. So as for our test today, I have the turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shell. So let's get you guys a view of that target and we'll take our shot and see what these new Longbeard TSS 9s can do through the 870 and Longbeard 660 choke. I'm thinking we should see some good results here, but we don't know until we try it because these are a brand new shell to the market. So enough talking, let's head over here and take our shot and see what kind of a pattern we can get. Alright, so that shell gave us 1149 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1100. So out of our 24-inch barrel on that 870, we saw a little bit above that boss claim. So definitely not bad at all for a velocity out of a 2 3/8 ounce load of TSS 9s. That's going to absolutely get the job done all day long. But what kind of a pattern did we get down there at 40 yards out of those shells? Let's go check it out and see what we got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that that is devastating, to say the least. There's no turkey that's ever going to walk through that kind of a pattern, that's for sure. It is honestly a beautifully even pattern. We have a nice, dense, hot core right around the top of his head there, and I really like the leeway it gives you too. As you can see, you've got several inches on either side of that turkey paper, and overall, I would say you probably have 16 inches of confident leeway there without being just splotchy or blown all over the place either. And there's really no gaps or voids or anything in this pattern until you get all the way to the very outskirt edges. And as for flyers, I mean, you might have a couple down here at the bottom, but for that kind of a pattern, I don't think we can really complain about, what, 3, 4, 5 flyers maybe down there at the bottom. That's going to be absolutely devastating at 40 yards, without a doubt. And a 2 3/8 ounce payload of 9s is a lot of pellets flying down range. So you're going to be hitting them with a lot of pellets right at the same time there. So that bird is absolutely hammered. And that's a pattern that you could easily push out a little bit farther than 40 yards. I think it's pretty clear that you would probably run out of energy with a TSS 9 before you would actually run out of pattern capability. So right off the bat here, a very, very solid start for these Longbeard TSS shells. There's not much to complain about with that kind of a pattern. I wouldn't hesitate in the slightest to take that out on a turkey hunt. Now, Now, do I think by this pattern that they're worth $70 a box? Still, probably not. We've seen the same performance with cheaper TSS loads before, so there is that factor. But hey, at least these gave us a good pattern for that price. And I think I mentioned earlier, I wish they would have come out with a cheaper version of these as well. And now that I'm standing here thinking about it, that would technically be the Herder's TSS shells. They are a 2 3/4 inch load at, I think, $45-ish a box for 5 rounds. And they give you the same exact looking pattern as this does. So if you're looking for a Winchester made, which is who makes the Herder's TSS load, but not at this price tag, the Herder's are just as good of an option. But either way, we can't argue with that kind of performance. So for a starting point here, right off the rip, I don't think we can complain about that performance one bit there. That's pretty impressive. All right, and here's the wad from that shell, and you can see it's not looking like your typical Longbeard wad. This appears to be the same orangey colored wad that they use in the Herder's TSS shells, which those are made by Winchester, so it does make sense here. And judging by the performance we saw today, and the performances we saw with the Herder shells, this is a very good wad combination. There's no snags, there's no pinholes, no tears, rips, anything like that. It looks pretty much perfect, exactly the way I would expect it to be, and clearly I think it did its job just fine. And with this wad in these shells, I think we're going to see good performance through just about anything we run them through. So looking good for a wad. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance right there? There's no question about it. That is a completely devastating pattern. A 2 3/8 ounce payload of TSS 9s with that kind of a pattern is going to absolutely crush a bird. Now, still, I wish the price was better, and it may come down at some point, but $70 a box for 5 shells is not cheap. I mean, that is up there with your premium custom hand-loaded type of special order shells. And for them being a kind of mass-produced Winchester shell, I don't know that they quite should command that kind of price point. But if you're getting good performance out of them and you want to spend that much, clearly they seem to be a pretty decent shell, at least for this initial test. So overall, I think they worked out pretty well through that 870 and the Longbeard 660 choke. So we're off to a good start here. There's no question about it. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected out of these? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you gotten your hands on any of these yet and tested them? And if so, what kind of results have you seen out of them? And what other setups and choke combos do you want to see us test these shells through? Let me know all that down in the comments, because I've got both 8s and 9s and I want to film stuff you guys want to see. So if there's a specific combination you know I have that you want to see me try, then by all means let me know. So with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like to. All that information will be in the description down below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.